And I'm not giving up, I'm not giving up, no, not me. Even if nobody else believes, I'm not going down that easily. So don't give up on me.
Hey everyone, are you rad for Christ? You fired up for Jesus? Welcome back to another episode of Radical Christianity, the talk show that highlights God in action. I am Drew, your host, and I want to thank you for joining us today. All right, time to gather around for family game night. And we're not talking about checkers. That's right, we are talking about a Bible-based video game designed for kids, calling itself a new Christian gaming alternative. I know a lot of parents out there are questioning their children's gaming experiences, as so many feature graphic language or violence or other obscene content. Not to mention the access that it gives players across the world to interact remotely in unsupervised digital environments. I'm not really a gamer myself, but I hear it's like Pirates of the Caribbean meets Dumb and Dumber when it comes to some of the online gaming chat rooms. The popular game Roblox is even facing a class action lawsuit claiming exploitation of children by exposing them to unsafe, unregulated, and grotesque virtual experiences, as well as predatory conduct from adult users. Yikes. I guess some chat rooms are worse than others. Enter Christian gaming apps like TruePlay, whose mission is to embed biblical truths into exciting and creative storylines. It is even backed by the Billy Graham Foundation and Focus on the Family, featuring multiple games that are centered around prayer, faith, biblical truth, and God's miracles. The gaming platform does charge a subscription fee, but if you ask some parents, the real miracle is that there are no ads or in-app purchases. Hallelujah, amen. This is music to many parents' ears, like some of my friends who have had it up to here being asked to buy more Robux for their kids. TruePlay says it has no online platforms that allow adults to interact with children. So I guess that is one way to reduce distractions. Hey, you know what another way to reduce distractions would be? Get the kids off the screen and get them outside. Hey, have them do some chores or ride a bike. I mean, it's beautiful out there right now. You know, when I was a kid, we didn't really have so many video games, so we had to entertain ourselves the old-fashioned way, climbing trees and doorbell ditching, of course. Kids these days can't even do that anymore, thanks to doorbell cams. Do kids even know how to climb trees anymore? Or do they just hug them? Okay, no, I kid. Poor kids don't even get to TP houses anymore after the great toilet paper shortage of 2020. Anyway, the gaming platform says it's for the whole family. So that includes you, parents. What do you say? Would you play this game or try it out for your kids? Do you have any other wholesome games that you can recommend? Come find us on social media and let us know. And make sure to follow us too, all right? Hey, I have a video game question for you. What did the character Mario say when he broke things off with Princess Peach? It's not you. It's me, I'm Mario. All right, folks, that's it for now. Tell me, you rad for Christ? Fired up for Jesus? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special treat coming up for you right now. This gentleman is the Chief of Police of Fresno, California.
Welcome to Radical Christianity.
Thank you for the invitation.
Man, it is so great to have you here, Paco.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You know, we met a while ago, but you know, I've been wanting to get you on here because you know you've expressed how your faith is definitely your center, and that's kind of what we're about. I mean, you're the Chief of Police of Fresno, which is a big deal. You know what I mean? Fresno is, you know, not the biggest city, but it's right in the very center of California. And you know, California is a pretty big state, and it's got a high population, and a lot goes on in Fresno. A lot of people don't realize, you know, how much is going on in Fresno. And then the Central Valley, being the highest concentration of churches in the world, you know what I mean, is an important thing as far as the kind of people that appreciate law enforcement, you know. So, what we normally do here is we start off with testimony, and then how that leads into the service. So.
Well, I think we really have to go way back on the testimony. There's just so much to everyone's personal life, but I can tell you that my family had a lot to do with that. Grew up Catholic, my twin brother and I. Growing up in a Hispanic family, a lot of Hispanics are predominantly Catholic. But later on, we converted to Pentecostal once we moved to Oklahoma City. We were living with an aunt and some cousins, and they'd been going to a Pentecostal church, and that's really when we kind of had a real relationship with Christ. I can remember at the age of about 10 or 12, praying the sinner's prayer with a cousin, with the same cousin that was here in Oklahoma City when we moved up there. And from a young age, just the knowledge of God, of a bigger being, was something that was pretty important to my family and to me personally. So I think every journey is an extremely personal thing for every human being. What they go through, what their life experience is, what their lived experience. I can tell you that it's probably the most important thing. I mean, without a doubt, it's the most important thing in my life is my faith, and then comes my family, and then comes my job. But they're to me, they're very much interconnected because we read in the Bible that all authority comes from God. So I believe 100% that He brought my family and I to Fresno for a very specific purpose, and to match me up with someone like our mayor, Jerry Dyer, who's also a strong Christian. He's very open about his faith.
Right. He was a chief of police.
And he was the chief of police. So we have a lot of commonalities, and I have found a very strong mentor, friend, and supporter in Jerry Dyer. And he, next to God, he's the biggest reason why I came here to Fresno, because he was the one who, we talked on the phone for hours and kind of convinced me to finally make the move. Because it is a big move. It is a leap of faith to leave what a state that like Oklahoma, and which is also a very conservative place. A lot of churches there as well. Part of the Bible Belt. So faith is very important in that community, and I feel that it is also as important here in Fresno. You're absolutely right. We receive here in this community a lot of support from the community because they tend to be more conservative, more pro-police, more pro-military. But along with that comes a great deal of accountability. It's not just the support; it's the fact that you have to live up to the expectations of what the community needs from you. But no, you're absolutely 100% correct. This job is so incredibly difficult. There's a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, a huge amount of responsibility, and I know that I don't have the capacity for all of that. It is only through my faith that I can do a good job and show up every day and lead 1,300 people that are depending on me to lead them in the right direction. So a lot of decisions are made, through just a prayer, grounding myself. Part of that is humility, knowing that, look, I don't have all the answers. I can't really do anything by myself. I need not just the right state of mind, but my faith, God's blessing, and the people around me that really make things happen. My police officers, the men and women who serve this community, they're really the ones that make it happen. But it's very humbling. It's very humbling to be in a position like this one. I don't take it for granted that I'm in this position. I think it's definitely, what I'm supposed to be doing, and I take that very seriously.
Well, I can see where, having a strong faith and being in a position where you are the top of the food chain when it comes to law enforcement can really work together.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, because if somebody wasn't driven by faith, it could really cause some cards to fall.
Yeah, and there's always that pressure from the world. They feel that you have to separate the human being, the individual, from their job, and their faith, and that's not really true. Humility comes through faith, and the treatment of others, in a fair and constitutional manner. Well, that comes from faith as well. Coincidentally, a lot of your leaders across the country are people of faith. Some great law enforcement leaders in the largest cities are, they've been successful and do a big part because of their faith, because of what they believe, because of who they are. And I think law enforcement especially, we are here to protect people. We are here to treat people fairly. We are here to bring justice to our community. We are here to engage with our community. We are here to be fair, impartial, loving, never self-serving, to basically put our lives, between harm's way in our community. And all the things I just stated are all biblical principles. We are public servants. We are here to serve the community, and that's exactly what Jesus did for us. He came down here not as a king, which he was, but as a humble servant, washing the feet of his apostles and spreading the word, and in all humility, teaching us God's ways. And I see a lot of similarities in public service and the teachings of the Bible.
So tell me how your faith in God led you into this role. I mean, obviously, there's probably stages. I mean, because to get here, you didn't like jump into chief of police.
No, it took a long time, and most of my law enforcement career started was in Oklahoma as a young detention officer. I remember graduating from high school on a Wednesday night, church night, and started my new job as a detention officer the very next morning on Thursday morning. And that's public service as well, being a correctional officer, a detention officer. But I was 18 at the time and not old enough to apply to be a police officer. But it just, my heart was always in that public service realm. I felt that I wanted to do something where, I help people, and that's the main reason where most public safety professionals will state that they want to do this. They want to help people. They want to make our community better. And had a great career there in Oklahoma City for 22 years. But I just kind of kept on taking on leadership roles, and leading is something that's very important, because you have to lead by example. Not that you're perfect; you're going to make mistakes, and that's part of it. It's part of being human. Committing errors, but also learning from your mistakes and moving forward. Also, I think. Life has a way of really molding us into who God wants us to be. And I've never met a great person, a great leader, or a great Christian who hasn't been through something very, very difficult in their life. And I think that's the trial and tribulation where, we're broken down in the sense that we can no longer rely on ourselves to get us through whatever the situation is. We have to rely on God, and there's a part in the Bible that talks about a broken and contrite heart. God will not despise. There's just something beautiful about being in a situation where you realize, I can't do this. God, I need you. I don't know what to do. I need your help. And brokenness has a way of taking away all ego, all self-reliance, all survival instincts, and really all we have is just a prayer to God. And I think He really loves that, because that's when He's able to really work in us. And I can certainly relate to that. There's been times in my life where I've been in really, really lows, and that's something that surprises people. People see me as the chief of police, a person that's very confident, a person that's very decisive. That's my job, is to make decisions. But and they're correct in that. But it's taken a long journey to get me to that point. And I think what most people don't realize is the fact that I submit myself to God, to my faith, because that's the most important thing. And when I look at the most, and by the way, my greatest title is not chief of police. My greatest title is husband and father. Because I also realize that I won't always be chief of police. I love the job. It's very, very hard and very challenging, very stressful, and huge amount of responsibility. But I love coming to work, because I love serving the people who work for me and the people in the community. But as much as I love that, I have a strong realization that I'm not gonna be here forever, But I'll always be husband. I'll always be dad. I'll always be son of God. And in a life like ours, if you're lucky, you get to live 75, 85 years. And in the big scheme of things, that's not a long time.
No.
I'm 47 years old. I realize that I'm at that midpoint. I probably have more years behind me than in front of me. So, infinity is quite different than something finite, like how many years you're on this earth. So then all these things kind of come into perspective. But I'm enjoying the job, and I'm very appreciative of just the way God is using not just me, but more specifically my police officers to change this community, to bring safety, to bring security, to bring hope. We changed our mission statement this last year, and we actually included that. We included hope. That
Nice.
with the Fresno Police Department is devoted, in partnership with the community to create safety, security, and hope. And that's what we really want to give to the next generation, is hope that there is going to be a brighter tomorrow, that they do have an opportunity to make it in this community. And that's I think that's a very noble and humble mission to have.
So I still have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Like my mind is just like filled with them. I'm trying to like listen as well as wrestle with questions. It's so funny. So when you have, because obviously you don't have to go into the field as much, right? But you have officers that are there constantly all the time. Is there some kind of spiritual support? Do you guys have prayer groups among the?
Well, what we do have is we don't have prayer groups, although I'm sure several officers go out, and I remember being a young officer and working in an undercover unit, and being in that van where you're about to go do a drug raid or whatever. And I remember praying on my way there, silently, just praying for my team that nobody's shot, that no one's killed, that we're safe, that we can execute justice in a safe manner and be able to go home at night. Although I don't get out in the field as much, I think one of the advantages of being a younger chief is the fact that I do make it out on occasion. I've been on several operations where they've allowed me to actually be part of the entry team, and I do that on purpose because I want to be there with my team. I don't want them to ever think that my expectation is for them to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. So that's really important to me. I also get to go to SWAT training on occasion when the schedule allows. I was a SWAT operator back in my day. 03 to 06. So I still remember a lot of those principles. A lot of the tactics have changed. But
Now,
we do.
SWAT can be scary, right?
I can. It can, but for those in SWAT, it's just a lot of fun. It's a unit that is very specialized. The specifications and the training and the requirements are high standards. But those guys and gals are just amazing. They have a lot of specialized equipment. They do things in a very safe manner. A lot of people don't realize that unit, the primary function of that unit is to preserve life. To go into a situation and try to diffuse a possibly violent situation and walk away with everybody walking away, including the arrested person. So that's the primary mission. But no, that's one of the fun parts of the job, and I know that they enjoy it. But back to your question, we do have a chaplaincy program, and it's connected to the police department. We provide some funding for it annually, but it's separate nonprofit. And we have a lot of volunteer chaplains. They do an amazing job. We have a main, chaplain who not only, it's not just ceremonial, but he runs that nonprofit organization. And those chaplains are basically driving around, and they go to some of these calls where there's trauma, and they provide support to our police officers, and they provide support to our victims. And we don't, not only do we have chaplains that are of the Christian faith, but we're very open to any and every faith, because I have police officers who may not be Christian. They might be Hindu, they may be Muslim, or they may be Catholic, or whatever else. And we have to be we have to be a support to them as well, just like anybody else.
Right. I think that it's still a sign of a good Christian to respect somebody else's faith, because if you take a stance of standoffishness, then you can't ever, show them what Jesus is like.
I agree with you. I think if we're going to follow the footsteps of Jesus, it's about being receptive, inviting, caring, understanding. And if we just push people away, well, that's the opposite of what I just stated. So.
Right. Yeah. So obviously the interaction on the street can get kind of crazy. The chaplain's office is, that I drive by all the time is in Tower, so I see it like all the time.
Right.
I actually am planning to make a pit stop there at one point and try and get some interviews going. Yeah. But it's like one of those things where it's like I drive by it and reminded, and then it slips my mind, you know. But I know, I actually know two people who have been chaplains. One of them is Rob Carter with the Code 3, and then the other one is Bruce Hood, who has Feed My Sheep ministry now.
Oh, wow.
And both of them have been chaplains at one time. And they have interesting stories.
I'm sure they do.
So like on the street, you know, you have a lot of people who are all over the place. I mean, you actually, you know, some people are just having a moment, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then some people are out there actually looking for trouble. You know,
That's true.
You have a lot of mental illness in the area now, which is, you know, we don't really have a solution for that in our society anymore. You know, how do you tell your guys to deal with all that? I mean, do you kind of mix faith into that? Does your faith go into how you tell them to deal with it?
Well, one of the things that that is primary in being a police officer, and you know, as far as how you handle a call, you know, we have policies and we have protocols and we have, you know, laws that dictate, you know, what we do in certain circumstances, and then we also have resources. You know, you mentioned people with mental health issues. You know, we have a strong partnership with we call it the Department of Health in Oklahoma, but here it's a Department of Behavioral Health. And they provide a great service for us, a great support for us. You know, that's up to every individual police officer. What we do talk about, and it's one of our core values, is compassion. When somebody dials 911 and a police officer responds to a house or a business, it's typically on somebody's worst day. You know, something is happening. Somebody's hurt, somebody's injured, a crime has occurred, something terrible, maybe a traffic accident. So my police officers are responding to situations which are not happy situations. Sometimes they're not safe situations. So they have, you know, over 100 things to consider. You know, what's the officer safety aspect? How do I approach this? How do I keep myself safe? How do I protect the public? And you know, once we render the situation safe, it's treating people with compassion. One of the things that we do here is we provide a lot of de-escalation training. We don't want our police officers to show up and amp up the situation. We want our police officers to calm the situation down. And force is only used when it's critical. When we absolutely have to use force, and then we use the minimal amount of force necessary to either effect the arrest or keep yourself safe or whatever else. So you know. I'm very fortunate and very blessed to have a police department that is you know, one of the highest performing police departments in the country. And it's not because I'm chief, it's because I have great people working for me. So each one of those officers is an individual, is a human being with their own faith, with their own perspective. And I think we bring the best of what Fresno has to offer when we respond to these calls. Because you know, every morning at 4 a.m. I get the end of watch report, and it lists what happened the night before, any significant incidents. And you know, I see a great deal of compassion. I see a great deal of professionalism. I see a great deal of just heroic acts to be able to place himself in danger to protect somebody. And it, as a police chief, it makes me very proud. And again, it all goes back to being a public servant, to serving our community. You know, we know that this job, it puts us in danger, and we're never going to get rich doing this job, but it's still a worthy job. You know, a very worthy job. It's something that's worth doing, and having a job of significance is huge. And I think it's you know, to me, it's a calling. You know, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God. You know, it's one of my favorite verses, because that's what we are. You know, we bring peace, and you know, my officers are children of God because they're doing God's work. They're saving lives. They're protecting people. They're protecting the innocent. They're bringing justice to those afflicted. And again, that's, you know, I can't think of anything better. You know, sure, I could be a CEO of a company making millions of dollars, but am I saving lives? Am I doing something that's going to last past this realm, this world, into eternity? And I think when we give people hope, that's what we're doing. We're creating situations where people can save their lives. And I'll tell you a quick story. I remember as a younger police officer having a gentleman follow me to the store. I was off duty and I was there to buy whatever. And he finally gathered up the courage to come up to me and goes, "Hey, I don't mean to, freak you out or disturb you, but I just wanted to say thank you. You may not remember me, but you arrested me several years ago, and I was a drug addict. And because of your arrest, I went to prison, and it saved my life. It changed my life. It saved my life. My world turned around." And going back to our early conversation about rock bottom, being in that place where you have no control, where you need God's help. And this person had a family, had a good job, was doing so much better. And he told me I would have been dead. If you didn't arrest me today, I would have died. I would have, overdosed, and I wouldn't be here right now. So, I mean, that's just one little example of something huge impacted this person for the rest of his life and probably through eternity. And that's you can't put a dollar value on that, I don't think.
No, definitely not. That's a great story. So now that we're talking stories, I would love to hear an incident or an instance where you saw God moving in your current job, and then I would love to hear some from before also.
Yeah, so in my current job, I just started my 4th year as Fresno Police Chief, and I can tell you that I've learned so much. And I think when you're challenged, when you're spread thin, it causes you to grow. But a lot of that growth really hasn't been in areas that people might think. I'm a very decisive person. I have no problem making decisions on an everyday level. I feel very comfortable in that position. I've never ran to the closet and thought, "Oh my goodness, I don't know what to do." That's not me.
Yeah, that wouldn't fit the role of the job.
It would not fit the role of the job. But also, a lot of that comes to preparation, experience. I do a lot of reading on national trends, so I'm typically kind of ahead of the game as far as the intellect that it takes to make decisions. Where the true growth has been in my perception of what this job is. And I think early on I had a this job comes at you so fast, and I can tell you that transitioning, going from one state, a large city like Oklahoma City, which is the 25th largest in the country, to Fresno, which is the 33rd largest in the country, both still big cities, right? Over 500,000 people each. But still different part of the country. So I come here, I don't know the people, I don't know the culture, I don't know the department. The policies are pretty much the same, in every major department. But it's still big learning curve. And things are coming so fast at you that I found myself really depending on me. And the first couple of years was a high reliance on Paco and his experience, his knowledge, his work ethic, his perseverance. I'm a very determined person. I'm going to come in every day and I'm going to give it my all. But then what happens when that runs out? And really, when difficult situations come, you find yourself in that place where God, I've been trying to do this all by myself, when I really should have been relying on you. Because yes, you've given me talent. Yes, you've put me in this position. Yes, you're gonna guide me. But at the end of the day, I can't rely on me, because I'm human. I'm flawed. I'm gonna screw it up. But when we rely on God, then we're in His perfect will to do what must be done, to do what He intends. And so a lot of that has honestly been like a huge weight lifted off of me, because the job's so much easier when you know what your inner fire is. Well, that's God. And so I'm relying a lot less on me, probably performing a lot better, but it doesn't change the scope. It doesn't change the fact that the number one ingredient that you need to be a police chief is you need to love people.
Yeah.
If you don't love people, I mean, go do something else. Go sell iPhones or go work for Apple or whatever. Because you have to have that love for your fellow human being. If you don't have that, if you don't love your community, that includes the people that are messing up. That includes people that are going to jail. That includes your officers. That includes the community. That includes the our business owners. That includes the leaders of this community. I mean, you have to have a genuine love for people, which is sometimes hard to do. And then the next thing that you need, in my opinion, from my experience, is that then you need humility, to know that you're very limited. You're very limited in your capacity. You have to have love. You have to have humility, and in that humility allows me to lead in the way that I like to lead, and that's trusting my people, inspiring my people to do a great job, and then trusting them to get the job done. when you don't do that, then you are the ceiling for any organization. So we have various meetings throughout the month. One meeting is, for example, executive staff, where I meet in this very room with my deputy chiefs every Monday, and we make decisions. And then we have something called command staff, when all my captains and some lieutenants are in there, and basically we're keeping each other informed. Big organization, 1,300 people, dozens and dozens of projects going on at the same time. But I include them in the decision making, because if I'm making every single decision, number one, I don't do that. I make the critical ones that I have to make. Everything else gets to be a group effort, because if I just rely on me, then I'm the ceiling. Right. We can only go as far as I can take us. But when we're led and inspired by others, as one unit, then the sky's the limit. There is no limit. There's nothing we can't do. But again, the biggest lesson I've learned is just not to rely on me, is to rely on God to give me the strength, to give me the temperament, to give me the wisdom, to give me the perseverance, to really kind of keep me going on a daily basis. That's the biggest difference, I think, in the last 3 years for me.
Do you have a specific moment where you had to turn to God that you can share? That
well, I mean, I do it on a daily basis, but I don't have a specific moment. I can tell you something that comes to mind since you want stories. I do remember as a very young officer having somebody in my car. It was a disturbance, and somebody reported a gang fight. Turned out it wasn't a gang fight, but there were a few individuals there after hours at a convenience store. So I secured one of them in the back of my car, and I still remember him. It was a African American kid named Brandon. And I remember he was in a gang. He had tattoos all over his neck, and this is back when that wasn't a thing. I mean, this was probably back in 2003, something like that, 2005. And I had a Christian CD on, and it was just kind of playing. That's just what I was listening to. And we talked and we joked around, and he asked me, he goes, "So what is that?" And I told him. So he struck up the conversation about God. And I talked about my faith. I talked about how Christ, what He did in my life, and he told me, I want that. And I said, okay. Well, I said, if you want, I said, it's your option. And I told him, you're free to go. You have no warrants, nothing going on here. You're 100% free to go. But if you want, I mean, I'll pray with you. He goes, yeah, I want that. And I remember his buddy was in another police car. And I told him, I said, hey, we can do it inside the car if you don't want your buddies to see. No, he goes, I don't care. I want them to see. So we stepped out, and he prayed the sinner's prayer, and it was just such a, I was prompted at that time. Like, I felt that this was an opportunity that was put before me to do the right thing, to exercise my faith and to share that with somebody else. And here's a young man who's not living his life right. In a lot of peril, and he's asking for this. So yeah, it was my pleasure to sit there and pray with him, and I mean, it was just kind of a real moment. It totally changed my perspective, because first appearance is that, okay, this guy's a knucklehead, maybe he's a gangster, maybe he's involved in all these things, and maybe a lot of that was correct, but in the end he was moved by something greater than both he and I, and I had the pleasure, or the privilege I should say, to be able to pray with him.
I think that's like an exceptionally beautiful story. And I hope that there's a lot of officers that have stories like that. Because, I mean, that is literally the front line.
Right.
You know what I mean? You are sitting there with somebody who is dancing with the devil, for no other better way to say it. You know what I mean? And, if you're able to witness to them indirectly, because obviously, I imagine there's probably some kind of rule against, being aggressive with your faith.
Right. Yeah. That's something that we don't do, because people are diverse. But when somebody opens a door like that and they're asking you for something, I don't think there's anything wrong with sharing. It's your perspective, but it's your personal spiritual perspective, which is worth so much, I think.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful, man. That's awesome. So, is there term limits on the chief of police, or is it just?
No, it's an appointed position. As a matter of fact, the mayor, Jerry Dyer, he was police chief for 18 years. which is a ridiculously long time.
Yeah, that seems like a long time to be chief of
so,
police.
So the national average is 3 years
Okay.
for a police chief, simply because the job is so extremely difficult, so taxing on you.
And you've done it 4, so you're.
I've started
you're
my
above
4th year.
average.
Well, it's above average because keep in mind, most large cities are on their 50th, 55th police chief. I'm the 23rd police chief here. So Fresno has a reputation for being supportive of their chief, which allows them the ability to be here a little bit longer. So I don't know. I don't have a, I try not to think too far ahead. There's a saying that says, thinking too much in the past creates regret. Thinking too much in the future creates anxiety. So I try to kind of live in the here and now. I take it day by day. But I'm certainly, I believe 100% this is where I'm supposed to be. So I have no plans on leaving. I'm not trying to leave. I'm not looking at other cities. I certainly would love to finish the mayor's term, which is another 5 years. He would turn out, in about 2029. So if God if God keeps me here, then I'd like to stay here. But if he puts it in my heart, my family's heart, to go someplace else, and that's where we'll go.
Yeah. So how is the community for you? Obviously, you moved here from Oklahoma, and it's a slightly smaller city, but we're still kind of down home. But we're a little California at the same time, which is it's got to be weird.
yeah. That's a good way of putting it. I mean, California is different than Oklahoma. But people are people, right?
Right.
And human needs and spiritual needs are still the same, no matter whether you're in Canada or Australia or wherever else. So I think the human need and the human connection to people and God are the same anywhere. But I have found this community to be a very supportive community. I love this community. The leadership, not just at City Hall, but around the church community and the Hmong community, the Punjabi community, the African American community, the Hispanic community. They've all been very receptive, very engaging, and very supportive. So it makes me want to stay here longer, obviously, because you have a supportive community. At the same time, we're also a much more diverse city than Oklahoma City is. And when you have a diverse city, part of your job is to be able to connect with everyone. And it doesn't matter if they're of the same faith as you. And keep in mind, I'm everyone's police chief. I am the police chief for the city of Fresno. That includes anybody who resides within the city limits of Fresno. That includes everyone. And going back to point number one, the biggest thing that you need, or the most important thing that you need as a police chief, is to have love for people. That includes everyone, because we're all God's children, and we all deserve communication, engagement, fair treatment, justice. And it's up to me to make sure that my police department is providing that for everyone.
Yeah, that is important. I mean, obviously, love like that, basically comes from, your faith in Jesus, I'm sure.
It does, because the human side of me doesn't like everybody all the time.
Right.
But no, it's that, and I think it's just kind of a sense of compassion. When I see something horrible happen, my guys go out there and they solve murders, they solve shootings, they arrest the bad guy. But then, one of the things that comes to mind is what horrible place must that offender be in to do something like that, and we've seen some heinous crimes in this community, honestly far worse than I've seen in other places. And that's what I wonder, I'm like, wow, how, what has affected them so much in their past, or what demons are troubling them, what demons are they wrestling with to do something like that. And it makes you have some compassion. You still do your job and you bring them to justice, but you have to be compassionate. There's things that happen in the city, for example, DUI wrecks. Sometimes there's fatality accidents, and you think, man, not only is it terrible for the family that lost their loved one, but what about that person that collided into them? Did he get up in that morning intending to kill somebody? No, probably not. But now they have to live with that for the rest of their lives. They're in jail. They have all these legal consequences to face, and that's the law. I mean, we live in a country of laws, and we believe in law and order. But your heart still kind of goes out to them, because their lives are changed as well.
Yeah. No. Obviously from instance to instance, a little different, but but yeah, I mean, you got to deal with situations where you really feel for people. You know what I mean? I'm sure that happens a lot, where, you know, you wish that you could do something for that person,
Right.
but they got themselves in a position where your hands are kind of tied. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
you're not the DA, you're the chief of police.
Right,
You know?
but you know, I think you can always do something for them. You can always pray for them.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, that's a big part of, you know, being a person of faith that sometimes people forget, because it takes action, it takes work. But you know, when you have a strong connection to your faith and to God, it's something that kind of comes naturally. You know, for example, I work out every morning here at the gym, and a lot of times our new recruits are there and they're working out too. And you know, as the leader of this agency, I'm working out. I'm listening to my earbuds or whatever, and but I find myself praying for them. You know, that, you know, God protect them, God give them the wisdom, God help them through the police academy. That once they get out there, that God help them make the right decisions, keep themselves safe, and to do the right thing. And I think that's my part as a leader. Coincidentally, you know, when I also encounter people, you know, as I'm driving to work and I see, you know, somebody who's homeless on the side of the street, or somebody who looks like they're drug addicted, you know, I pray for them as well. I don't know what their past is. I have no clue what their circumstances are, but God does. And I think part of our job is to intercede for those people, not to be judgmental, not to be, you know, not to pass judgment. I'm not a judge. I'm the police chief. You know, my job is not to judge people. My job is to enforce the law, and to treat people fairly and constitutionally. And again, I'm very proud of my department, because I think we do that very well.
Yeah, I think you guys do a good job.
Thank you.
You know, I grew up in Fresno, and I've seen the police have bad attitudes, and then and then things shift. You know, I think when Jerry Dyer came on as chief, there was a big attitude shift in the department. I don't know if I can't know if I can exactly pinpoint it to that. But
right, I can. Yeah. I think a police department takes on the personality of the leader. It really does. And you know, he's a man of faith. And you know, one of the first things that people asked me, or that people wanted to know when I got here, is what are his expectations? You know, what does he expect from us? Not just my command staff, but the officers. And I try to make that very clear from day one. You know, I've gone to a bunch of briefings, all the shifts, every section of the city, to talk to the officers one-on-one as far as what my expectations are. And I think they know what those are. And again, people are trying to conform to just the most professional police department that we can be. Coincidentally, you know, we have core values, we have a mission statement, we also have a vision statement. And that vision statement is very transparent. I made it simple and transparent so the officer would remember. Our vision statement is, number one, to make Fresno the safest large city in California. Pretty simple. Safest large city in California, period. You know, safety as far as, you know, do people feel safe here? What are our statistics? Is the homicide rate down? And we're getting close. You know, when I talked about that when I first got here, you know, 4 years ago. And people kind of laughed at that idea, knowing that Fresno was considered or historically a violent place. Well, we've made a lot of headway to where we're getting there. And there's secondly, I want us to be the most professional law enforcement agency in the country. Again, period.
Right.
You know, second to none. And when my officers hear that, because I tell them, I'm like, I believe with 100% certainty that I have the personnel to do both of those things. And I tell them, when you believe it internally, that's when you'll really see a big difference. So I think, you know, going on 4 years of kind of beating that same drum, I think it's finally sinking in, and people are not only do they get it, but they're also performing it. They're getting the job done.
Yeah, I know that a lot of your officers have a good sense of humor, because I'm a clown, you know, and I can't help it, because, you know, you like 7-Eleven, you wait in line, and you know, you just can't have an opportunity to just joke around.
Right.
And that's, you know, that is a good sign that, you know, that there's good humor, there's you know, good sense of, hey, you know what I mean, I'm not like standoffish, you know,
right.
And you know, like I said, that's obviously a little bit of the individual, but that's kind of thing that comes from the top. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's not easy for them, by the way. because every police officer, whether they're at 7-Eleven or at a house or taking a domestic call, they have a heightened sense of awareness, like a heightened sense of safety wherever they walk in there, because they don't know you unless they actually know you.
Right.
They don't know you, so they're looking out and make sure that there's not a crime, make sure that they're safe. So when somebody jokes around with them, it does. They have to kind of consciously let their guard down to engage. But I think that they do a good job of kind of turning that, to be engaging and to joke around, but at the same time to be aware of their surroundings.
Yeah,
So.
he had some funny stories. Like the most recent guy, I was joking around at 7-Eleven. He had some hilarious stories
Oh, I bet.
about pranks that he played on people, and it was
Right.
like sort of a cop that was retiring, and
Right.
that got him good.
Yeah, it's a great camaraderie. It's like a big family, and I think cops. That they're understood by other cops, so it kind of builds a really strong sense of family, and that can be good.
Yeah. So, what would you like the community to know? And our audience isn't just Central California. We do have a long, strong Central California audience, but our audience reaches nationally, and we have a few international viewers. But what would you want them to take away about you and your faith and your job and how that all works together?
Yeah. Well, I think with your questions, I think we've done a good job kind of correlating the two, but honestly, it's not of high impact what they think of me specifically, because I don't think it really matters that much. Being as an individual, I'm not that significant. I have an important job, but I don't. And I'll give you an example. Although I have a very important job and I'm a very confident person, I don't take myself very seriously. I really don't. I'm a very average person with a huge responsibility. So I kind of separate the two. I separate the job from me as a human being. So my interest is not that they think highly of me or look at Chief Balderrama or anything like that. I don't need to be put on any pedestal. My value comes in who I am in Christ and who I am at home. Not so much in this job. Again, like I told you before, I don't know how long I'm going to be here, and one day I won't be the police chief here. I think what I would like them to take away is just the strong correlation in biblical philosophies, walking with Christ, and what it means to be a public servant. I mean, there are so many strong correlations in that they should want their police officers to be people of faith, because if they're people of faith, then compassion, humility, understanding, bringing peace and de-escalation to the community are all going to come with that same package. And probably the other part of that is just how difficult leadership is. I mean, leading a big agency like this one is not easy. It takes a strong not just knowledge and understanding and experience. Honestly, that's the easy part. It's the day-to-day things that you have to deal with. The pressures of expectations, high and probably ridiculous expectations. Sometimes I speak out in groups, and I this is one of my sayings, and I don't refer it to be sacrilegious or anything, but sometimes the expectations for a police chief is that you're a cross between Jesus Christ and Superman, and in reality, we all know that there is no cross between Jesus Christ and Superman. There is a Jesus Christ, and there's just one. And so the expectations are pretty unfair and unrealistic. So I don't hold myself to those expectations. I hold myself to just coming in here and doing the best job that I can do. And really, you can't do more than that. I mean, all you can give is give your best job, and that's all you can give. And that's good enough. And that's good enough. I have to be able to separate the job. If I took the job home, then I would never sleep. And I've had sleepless nights before because of things that are going on, or the budget, or personnel issue, or whatever else. But there has to be a separation in that. And I'm not big on labels. People are not their mistakes. People are not what they do. People are individuals, and I think who they are away from the job is more important than the job itself.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for meeting with us today and sharing with my audience, how God works in your life and how that affects your job, because I know that a lot of people are going to find that extremely interesting, and you're probably going to help people, deal with some of their situations. And I'm sure that there's going to be some police officers that are going to see this and be like, oh, I wish I worked for him.
Yeah.
You need to tell my chief something.
We're hiring. We are definitely hiring if they want to come.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for the opportunity. It's a great opportunity to be able to share not just about policing and leadership, but who I am and what my faith is and why it's important to me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, if your true boss is God, and that's who you are, holding yourself accountable to, then then obviously your path that you walk is clearly lit by your faith. So
yeah, I think that's very true to say that.
And I think that's amazing. And you know what? I love. We have a saying here, and it's so true for you, man. And that's you're rad for Christ. You're definitely fired up for Jesus, and we love to see that here, man.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank you.
it. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for another episode of Radical Christianity. I sure hope that you got something really good out of this episode. Paco is a great man, and he has a really good message to share, right? So I kind of want to reach out to that person who is feeling touched by Jesus right now. You're wondering if this Jesus thing is for you. I sure hope that you are feeling the pull and the tug on your heart, because let me just tell you, having a relationship with Jesus Christ is unmeasured. It is the best decision you can make in your lifetime, and I've yet to meet a person that regrets it. If you're wondering how you have a relationship with Jesus Christ, it's really simple. You just talk to him and tell him, say, hey, Jesus, I need you. Come into my life and change me into the person that you've designed me to be. Forgive me of my sinful nature and help me to be stronger and smarter. Jesus is sitting there waiting for you. You just got to talk to him, And if you believe in your heart that Jesus is been raised from the dead and he's the Son of God, and you say with your mouth that he is Lord, you will be saved. So if you did do that, I want to welcome you to the family of God, right? And if you watch this episode and pray while watching an episode, or because of watching an episode, or in a rerun or whatever, I would love it if you'd let us know by going to our website, radforchrist.com. That's RAD4Christ.com. And we have a form there called Got Saved. If you just fill out that form, I would be able to send you a Bible and a little gift to help you know that we are wanting to celebrate your joining the family of God. Also on our website, we have Ask a Question form. So if you have a question about the Bible or this show or something like that, feel free to ask us, and we'll try and do our best to answer the question for you. Also, if you have a prayer request, we have a form that's specialized there for prayer requests. Please fill out your prayer request. We would love to pray for you. We are here to serve. And this is the most important part. And that is, Jesus Christ loves you. And so do I. Thank you for watching Radical Christianity. We will see you next week.
And I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up, no, not me. Even if nobody else believes, I'm not going down that easily. So don't give up on me. In this house I see many things I learned, like how to be a man without and concern. I think I learned. How do I know which road to take, which road to go? I feel so alone. All I need is help getting home. crossroad. This hill's got me so that I'm losing control of my mind. I need you, Lord, right by my side. I'm here now, feel so free. I know that your word, Lord, blesses me. I know I can fly. Lord, save me, hear my plea, and I know you are right by me. Can you help me through this life that's a dream? Lord, save me, I need help from myself. Lord, help me, there is no one else. Give me the comfort, I'm on my knees. Lord, save me. Lord, save me.
Not bad for a song that didn't exist 5 years ago.
Right, it didn't exist 5 years ago. It exists now. No.
No.
I forgot it instantly. But it's all good. I'm waking up with you side by side. I'm waking up when I open my eyes. I know that you're here. I can feel it inside, and I can't help but hide these tears that I cry anymore. Higher and higher, you are my desire. The touch of you brings a spark into a fire inside of my heart, in my soul. Higher and higher, you are my desire. The touch of you brings a spark into a fire, igniter of my heart, in my soul. Your love's a jump